How well is your organization managing assets? Asset management is often considered basic universal knowledge, yet many are still struggling with this skill. Assets can be anything, from an entire office building to a laptop on someone's desk. It might be your car, cell phone, or even digital currency. In this video, I'll break down a basic asset management life cycle, which is relevant to assets such as vehicles, devices, office equipment, furniture, and fittings, essentially physical assets. Now, different assets have different life cycles. The life cycle starts when determining needs and ends when the asset is no longer useful and must be disposed. The asset life cycle has 5 main stages, which include planning, acquisition, use, maintenance, and disposal. To demonstrate the life cycle, I'll use the example of a Land Cruiser J70 series, which is a double cabin pickup. Stage 1. Planning. The planning stage involves identifying needs, developing specifications, and estimating the purchase cost, total cost of acquisition, and total cost of ownership. In identifying needs, I may have a project that requires a pickup truck which can drive off-road. Before I proceed with purchasing transactions, I have to determine the specifications. The specifications will include things like engine capacity, type of transmission, fuel type, seating capacity, and even color. The next thing is to estimate the purchase cost. I ran a quick search on Toyota website and found that a J70 series goes for approximately $31,297, and that is ex-works. I then determine the total cost of acquisition, which includes cost, insurance and freight, duties and taxes, totaling $13,000. But that's not all. It's important to understand the operating cost for the J70 Land Cruiser, and this is for its entire useful life. A useful life can vary between 150,000 kilometers or 5 years, or whichever comes first. Now, using 5 years, we can estimate insurance, fuel, driver's costs, preventive maintenance costs, as well as fleet management transaction costs. All this total approximately $81,500. Therefore, the total cost of ownership, which includes purchasing, landing cost, and operating a J70 Land Cruiser, is approximately $125,824. Now, there's an interesting insight here. Notice that the purchase cost is approximately 25% of the total cost of ownership. So it's important for you to plan all the way to the end. Because of the huge capital cost, or what people refer to as CapEx, this is why many organizations prefer to lease assets. Stage 2, acquisition. Now, we've established 3 very important things: the need for a Land Cruiser, determining specifications, purchase cost, total cost of acquisition, and total cost of ownership. The next stage is to acquire the asset through procurement. Actions in this stage will include tendering, shipping, acquiring insurance policy, training operators, and commissioning the use of the vehicle asset for productivity. Stage 3 is use of assets. Now, before using the vehicle asset, you have to ensure the driver is well trained to handle a manual transmission type of utility vehicle. This includes application of high range and low range gears, operation of equipment like compressors, winch, and even a snorkel. Now, apart from Land Cruisers, we have other types of assets, such as telecommunication equipment, laptops, or things as basic as furniture. Before you use the asset, it's standard practice to ensure that all assets have a unique code and are tagged to enable tracking and tracing. The assets must be registered in a database showing who's in possession of the asset. When you use the asset, you also know that assets depreciate in value. So your database should automatically calculate depreciation based on a straight line method or a reducing balance method. Remember that some high value assets may require amortization over a long period of time. So essentially, all assets need to be insured, and documents regarding that particular asset should be kept in a secure file. Stage 4, is maintenance. So we've got our Land Cruiser J70 double cabin pickup, and now we are using it. But now we have to maintain it. Some of the prerequisites for ensuring good maintenance is to identify the maintenance requirements and to develop a maintenance plan with clear checklists. You have to ensure that all staff that are operating an asset are well trained on the service level requirements. If maintenance services are being offered by a third party, make sure a contract is in place with clear key performance indicators. Maintenance schedules for most assets are often meter-based, time-based, or based on conditions. With the example of a Land Cruiser, this will require at least 3 types of preventive maintenance, and they include Service A after 5,000 kilometers, B after 10,000 kilometers, and C after 50,000 kilometers. Other assets which commonly require similar maintenance include generators, forklifts, most motorized equipment, etc. Now, even things as basic as a laptop require often maintenance, which will include software upgrades or even bug fixes. So something else you need to note is when you're operating assets, you'll often encounter breakdowns, theft, mismanagement, which will require repair works or replacement. So clear instructions should be provided to all custodians to ensure that assets under their possession are repaired in the shortest time possible to avoid lengthy disruptions. Where an asset is stolen, procedures for recovering the asset through insurance should be well documented and shared with all stakeholders. Stage 5 is disposal. Now, at a certain point in time, your asset may become old and obsolete, or may have run to the end of its useful life. As we said earlier, the useful life of a Land Cruiser may be 150,000 kilometers, or 5 years, or whichever comes first. This is in the context of a utility environment where you're using the asset for commercial purposes or for a particular project. Now, you can still operate the asset, but you'll experience high maintenance costs because most parts of the asset will be worn out. Some assets get damaged, or maintenance cost can also rise to the point where a cost-benefit analysis reveals that you may require to dispose the asset for you to acquire a much more efficient new one. Should you find yourself in the scenario where you need to dispose an asset, the following are your options. First, you need to plan for disposal in advance and determine whether the asset will be sold for a minimum salvage value or donated. Secondly, you need to determine the cost of disposal, which will include either destroying the asset or handing over the asset or shipping it to a different country or location. If you're replacing the asset, try and acquire the latest model with the latest innovations. Most people replace assets which are either similar. But now, for instance, we have electric vehicles. So electric vehicles are a good alternative to using diesel-powered or petrol-powered or even gasoline-powered vehicles. Assets empower us to be productive. And it's important to manage the life cycle to ensure optimum use during the useful lifespan of the asset, to keep the asset safe and secure, to ensure assets can be tracked and traced, and to keep maintenance costs low. And overall, if you manage your assets properly, you can extend the life of the asset and ensure that it is productive for a long period of time. Now, if you need some support in putting your asset management cycle in order, then feel free to reach out to me. A guide on purchase costs, total cost of acquisition, total cost of ownership, and also procurement of assets. Now, if you don't have an asset management policy guiding on the 5 stages which I've described, I can also deliver that with an easy-to-use plug-and-play tools and templates, which will include automatic calculation of depreciation. If you found this video insightful, please feel free to engage, comment, ask questions, like, and support it. You can share it or even tag someone for engagement. Also, check out the link to our YouTube channel and subscribe to get future insights on this type of content.